up against me and they got my face. Automatic in the static of the human race. And they know my every step, they infiltrate my brain. But it's okay.
What's good, man?
What's up, man? What's going on? Long time.
It's been a minute. You're looking good.
Yeah, just, hanging in there. Like we all are. Thanks for doing this again. And you were the first person I ever got to do this with. And, to be able to do it again after the release of 33 is really exciting, man. I'm really honored. Again, I said that last time.
No, you're great, man. You are a superstar.
I told you last time I was going to loop that and rewatch it, and I have it saved on my computer, and I loop it and rewatch it whenever I'm
I mean it. If you're ever feeling low, you can just loop that.
Dude, whenever I feel like, whenever I feel like a fraud, man, I just watch that. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm me.
No, you're not.
So I'm sure you saw my reaction. You hit me up and let me know how you felt about it. So I got to tell you, man, I love this album so much.
My parents.
That's crazy.
The reaction, and both separately too. And my dad called me and he was like, "Man, I watched this reaction video from this guy on YouTube." And he was like, it was like it really made the album make sense to me. I was like, thank you, Michael, for making it make sense.
I mean, it helps that I got to talk to you originally. I kind of got inside your mind a little bit, so it kind of gave me like a cheat code, inside access into where your head was because you were making the album while we talked. It was last summer, right?
Yeah, it was.
For you, what was the biggest difference? Recording Subject to Flooding, obviously you were on the label you were on, you moved on from them, and now you're doing your own thing. What was the biggest difference between recording 33 compared to the previous album, and like how you feel about it in comparison? The biggest difference between processes as well.
Well, the processes were sort of similar, but the internal processes were different. I mean, I think we're always growing as human beings as we go, and art is sort of a reflection of wherever we're at that time. And I think Subject to Flooding, I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to say, and you can kind of feel that in Subject to Flooding. And I think there's something really beautiful about that, like watching myself figure out what it is that I want to say. At 33, I really had a strong idea of what I wanted to communicate. And in some ways, I feel like a lot of the songs are talking about the same thing. Like, The Circle is the same song as Another Way to Heaven, just told differently. Or, like a lot of the songs are the same thing. And I think it was just learning myself more, and it's going to continue to grow.
I'm so glad you said that they all have the same or a similar concept, because The Circle and Down to You also feel like the same song.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like message anyway. They obviously sound so different. One's like got this Western feel, and Down to You's got this more electro feel, but like they've got that same message going on.
Yeah, and the reason I say like The Circle and Another Way to Heaven is because those are maybe the two most like different from each other sonically, but like saying the same thing, or Down to You, or I mean, really, they're all saying kind of the same thing.
That's right. It's all you. Well, you start off with Online, which is a crazy. The first time I heard the album, I heard it out of order, which was an interesting experience. But because they all have that similar message, it kind of didn't totally matter. But then when I kind of jammed it in the car in order, because that's how I prefer listening to albums, it kind of had a feel that felt right. But Online, to start it off, just is like very jarring in a good way. And you talked about, last time we talked about sort of your relationship with the internet, and Online obviously talks about the internet. It's all about that, and your relationship with that, and perhaps what it can do to you, and whether it's good or bad. What's your relationship with the internet like now? And how did that help you write that song?
I think my relationship with the internet is, well, I think it's similar to most people's, where like I'm on the internet most of the day.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form, as I think a lot of us are. And there's a lot of good things about the internet. Like I've learned so much from the internet, whether that's watching a YouTube video or listening to a podcast or whatever. Like beautiful, like that. Some things that can be life changing, or meeting people on the internet that become some of my best friends in the world. Or there's so much good, but just like anything, it's dual. It has the twin nature, and that's sort of like what Jagwar Twin is like exploring is duality. Because I also feel the sort of need to like be an influencer or be this like talking head with my art is really difficult at sometimes, especially as like I don't really believe that it's like introverted and extroverted are these things. I think it's kind of like, you know, more gray than black and white, but I would fall more on the introverted spectrum. And I think because of that, it's a different expression. Like I'm an artist because it was difficult for me to articulate what I was feeling. And so it's a different thing being an influencer. And then it's like, well, what are we influencing people towards? And there's a whole lot of thoughts that go through my head, but it's both is the answer.
Well, dude, you put those thoughts quite beautifully onto song, whether you put it on paper or your note app. Speaking of artificial intelligence, I want to get into a track that follows online, and Little Luna. You introduced me to Little Luna on this album, and she sounds so good. I just love the way I love the way the two of you have like a natural chemistry, which doesn't always happen in duets. Oftentimes I feel like there's a combined duet, maybe for the sake of like, hey, we're both really popular, let's make a song. You guys just have like a natural chemistry, and that really comes across in that song. What was it like working with her? What can you tell me about her as someone who's only heard her on this song? And also, where did Jagwar Twin the rapper come from? Because you rode that beat, my guy. I was like, is that Roy?
Well, I would not consider myself a rapper.
So let's call it spoken word then. But either way, man, the cadence was there.
Yeah, I like words, and so I think that's a fun thing to play with, without as many notes, because I can kind of just say what comes to my brain, and I'm not really like a musical person. Like I don't know theory or anything, so sometimes it takes me longer to figure out words as paired to music. When I can just say words without notes, something interesting. So I want to explore that more. As it relates to Little Luna, she's been one of my best friends for like over a decade. And we've just seen each other through like so many different phases, and there is that chemistry. Like she's like my sister. So we have so much fun, and I learned so much from her just as a human.
I love that you said you've been friends for so long, because that's what I meant. Like that's what you can feel in the track. This album ranges. It goes like the super upbeat songs, makes you kind of want to dance. It's Your Time, Like to Party, Down to You, and then you got like lots of storytelling. And this is something I picked up on in the initial reaction. And there's storytelling in the upbeat songs too, but specifically like some pretty serious storytelling when we get to Soul is a Star, Another Way to Heaven, Imagine a World, The Circle. Was that intentional to sort of mix up the sound like that? And to obviously storytell, because I know that you're into the mythology and you're into film, and I know that you relate that to music.
I mean, yeah, I'm a story nerd, and like for instance, Pay Attention is my way of creating like a modern myth, or like a retelling of the story of Marduk in Mesopotamia.
I've never that one's deep. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, but it can be taken on different levels, and that's what's fun about it, because that's what great myths do. They're great parables, from great teachers. You can take them, on multiple different levels, and I think that's what's so fun about story. The Circle is like it's another modern myth, but they're all saying the same thing that people have been saying for thousands of years. It's just like new words to use.
Speaking of some of the storytelling on there, and the circle, and you mentioned Pay Attention. I think Soul as a Star is a really good one. I think it might be my favorite. I'm wondering if spiritual Jaguar Twin and sort of the I know you've gotten into meditation lately and tapping into like your more spiritual side. How has that helped you learn yourself, and how did that play into the album, if at all?
I mean, yeah, it changes everything. It changes your perception of the world around you. It changes, for me, it's changed my relationship with words, my relationship with language, like how powerful words are. Every time we speak, we are casting a spell. We're spelling. It's really powerful. And so playing with words, you know, Soul as a Star is a good example of, you know, it's another of it's a true story, and it's a true story, but it's also fictional. You know, like a good myth, sometimes fiction can reveal more truth than a factual story.
It's a lot of interpretation, like self-interpretation, basically, especially with that fiction. I feel that 100%, man. I'm a Harry Potter freak, like to the extreme.
Oh yeah.
And like
Same.
You saying that is so perfect for me, because that has like designed a lot of the way that I am, and that's created a truth. So I love that you said that.
If we orient ourselves like, I'm going to be Harry Potter, what would he do? What would Harry do?
Exactly. Something
It's
good.
like, what would Luke Skywalker do? It's the universal pattern of the universe, personified in this work of fiction, but it is true.
Yeah. The Happy Face success. Congratulations. That's massive. I'm sure. I don't know how you could even. What is it like? I gotta ask you. What is it like when a song like that just kind of explodes? And that's the oldest song, I believe, anyway, as far as like what you recorded first for the album, or not intentionally for the album, but ended up on the album. What's it like to just like have that continue to just blow up over time?
It's nice external validation, you know, especially when it was a song that was like, this song sucks and we're not going to put it out, when I was on a major label, and it was supposed to be part of Subject of Flooding, but got X'd. And it's funny, and I think everything happens in its right timing. I think if Happy Face came out then, it wouldn't have had the same cultural impact. And so a lot of it's timing and luck. But how it feels, I don't know. It's hard to say, because I'm just here with my perspective, but it's good.
Hey man, sometimes you don't fully know. Sometimes it takes time. So I like that.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, the album's all about yourself, whether it's the listener or you, the artist. And I love that Happy Face is having the success it had, and that it has that backstory that you mentioned, where X label says, you know, this isn't the song for the album. It makes me think of Justin Timberlake when he was making Future Sex Love Sounds. They told him Sexy Back is not a single, don't do that. And he dropped that as the first single, and like obviously that's exploded, and that kind of exploded his solo career to an extent too.
Yeah.
So you just gotta listen to yourself. He did it for him. He said, no, I'm dropping this.
Yeah, sometimes you have to trust yourself. I mean, it was the same with Pharrell and Happy, I heard.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That the label didn't think it was a hit, didn't want to put it out, so he just paid for the video himself and made it, and then ended up, you know, that song was massive. Happens a lot, and I think in some ways that's probably a good thing. It's like tests you. Like, do you really believe in yourself?
Yeah.
Because we can say we believe in ourselves, but like putting that into action is the battle.
My favorite lyrical song on the album is Another Way to Heaven. I love the play on numbers, and it kind of like timelines the song really cleverly. And something that really stuck out to me is in the beginning of the song you talk about, I wanted to see myself. And this is, again, this whole album just blends in, so every song is like the other. Fast forward to towards the end of the song, you say, I was still I. Dude, that hit me so hard. When you were writing that song and those lines particularly, and obviously like you're reflecting on your former self and going through this timeline of your current self, Was that like when you get to the I Was Still I? Was it a hurdle in confidence? Were you in a dark place? Like, what was that in that moment like?
I think it's sort of that feeling of you go throughout your day, and no matter what, we're sitting here. I'm seeing you kind of on the screen.
I'll take it.
You're seeing me, but I still feel like I still feel like I am, and you still feel like I am in your body. And you go and you eat your dinner, and you wake up, and you're always feeling the I am feeling. But another way to heaven, it's like sort of saying that feeling never goes away, ever, 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 for infinity, and never has gone away.
I mean, that can't go away. It's literally what you live with.
It's what you live with, and everybody feels that I am presence within themselves.
And sometimes you have to access that too. Like, it's always there.
Yeah.
Imagine a World is such a cool song. I felt like you were like Willy Wonka making a song.
That's what I've been wanting to hear my whole life.
I got you, my guy. That's I'm here just for that. You said, imagine a world where you could be a hero. How many people could you save if you got out your own way and went in your own way? Is that you?
Yeah. I think mostly I've just been trying to get out of the way. I think the reason why things are happening now is because I'm getting out of the way, getting out of my own way. And it's difficult. Like, getting in your own way is so subtle. We don't even know we're doing it most of the time. But I have gotten in my own way so much.
It's that I mentioned in the beginning, it's feeling like a fraud. It's not like if I get a modicum of success, I'm like, no, I don't deserve this. There's no way. Everyone's better than me.
Yeah.
Just stumbling over myself.
Question.
Yeah.
I know this is your interview, but I'm gonna ask you a question.
All good.
How do you feel in this exact moment? Honest response.
Oh man, that's I feel pretty anxious, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Why?
I feel two things. You're super easy to talk to, so I feel like I'm talking to a friend. But this happens to me no matter if I'm talking to someone that I've never, like, that I don't have like a long history with, I'm just automatically assuming like, oh, I'm not worthy of this space. And it's really hard for me to get past that. It's something I've always struggled with. Before, because I get to do this full time, I feel really lucky. I'm the kind of person, man, I've had so many jobs, and I can remember every job interview I've ever had, because during those interviews, I'm just like, in my head, like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here right now. And I know this isn't a job interview, but it gives me that feeling. It's that fraudulent feeling where it's like, I don't belong in the space I'm in, and it's really hard to. I've been going to therapy lately, and I'm trying to like work on that, but it's just something that it's an uphill battle.
Well, I think, I can relate to that. Even like being the person on the other side of an interview, it's like if I'm approaching it like, and I'm thinking is a trap.
That's what
it can be a great tool too, yes, but like the mind can trap you in this house of spells where you're just like in this little box and not even able to, like, for me at least, like, to pay attention to what's really going on, or pay attention to how I'm feeling, or like if I feel like being silent, just being silent, and not feeling like that's gonna make someone else feel weird or look at me, or if I feel like acting like a goofball, I can do that too. But like, and the mind is a sword.
Yeah, you gotta battle that sword all the time. Just not all of us are the greatest warriors, I guess.
It's great to have the sword.
Yeah.
but sometimes you're like, dang, I just cut my own head off.
I beheaded myself. I don't know where you go after that. That mind being like you're an enemy, because those thoughts, like you said, I'm trying to work on being present, like in every moment. because there's so many situations where I look back and I've almost lost what was special about those moments, probably because in those moments I was thinking too much. And I'm working on being present, and it's like you said, that the mind is your greatest enemy. So that's it's an ongoing battle with that, man.
Dude. Same.
I'm
in the same boat.
I'm glad you understand that, man. That's why
Derailed the whole thing, but
no, it's all good. This is what the whole album. And I really, because like I remember last year when we spoke, and you said that whole like you're so nice and you're so kind, and you said what you said to me, and after we were done, it was less of a like in the moment thing and more of a after it was done, I felt this great feeling of accomplishment. Particularly going back into our conversation and being able to see it again and going, oh, I think that went really well. It felt like it's confirmed what I felt. And sometimes you have to confirm what you felt after the fact, especially when you're not living in the moment. So I have like you to thank for so much because of this feeling like I deserve. So thank you for that.
man, you do. I'm not just saying it to make you feel good, although I do hope it makes you feel good, but I'm saying it.
All right, I'll underail our therapy session here. You created your own Jaguar mythology. Are you in the circle? I know you had to do that eventually. What was that? Come on, man. That was so, especially ending it off. That had to be. No other song could have ended off this album.
Dude, that song is one that I did not think about at all.
That's awesome.
That was to me like that's now the bar of what I desire to get back to when creating, when having a conversation. That level of no thought where I don't even feel like I wrote that song. I'm like, I listen to that song to this day and I'm like, this is amazing. This is so good. Whoever wrote this is a genius. Because it doesn't feel like me. And I say that like kind of, joking.
Yeah, you're tongue in cheek with it. Yeah.
But I do think there's something to be said about like turning your mind off for long enough and allowing your heart, your intuition to be open to whatever's trying to come through, because at all times there's thoughts being thought to us. We think, but who's really thinking, is up for debate. And so that song really felt like it's through the lens of a Jagwar Twin sort of myth, but it's really like the same stories that have been told, in the book of Genesis, the creation myths, but through today's lens. That's also why I don't feel like I wrote it, because they're concepts and ideas that like I didn't come up with at all. I'm just here like saying some words.
You were singing on this album, sir. You were singing. I feel like it cannot get lost that you're absolutely singing your heart out on this album. Like Solo's a Star, another way to heaven, The Circle's another one. And like Down to You, I feel like sometimes you can get lost how well the artist is singing in these like super upbeat songs. Is that something that did you realize something within you to sort of try and get to another level with your vocal?
Yeah, I think this album specifically, something clicked. It was just a mental thing of like, oh, I can sing that. I can do anything. And it's funny because when I was growing up and for a lot of years, I really couldn't sing at all, but it was all mental. And the shift wasn't that I took a bunch of lessons and like, yeah, I did practice for sure, but the shift was really mental. And I think 90% of singing is mental. And when I stopped trying to sing, I stopped thinking about singing, which is what I really tried to do with this album, and just what is the story that is going on. I know the notes are coming up, but I'm thinking about the story, not hitting the notes, and then you just hit the notes.
it's all mental, man. That's what it all comes down to, and this album illustrates that really honestly. I heard you mention that 33 has something to do with being within and without in some sort of way. Obviously, as well as you mentioned, like the age you recorded the album, but the number itself has some meaning behind it.
Yeah, the number 33 has a lot of great meanings. One of them being representing peace within and peace without. It's kind of the idea of as above, so below. How everything kind of corresponds.
One of my favorite literatures, and I mean also film adaptations of said literature, is The Great Gatsby. And there's a quote. I don't remember exactly what the quote is. This is kind of on the fly, but but they describe Gatsby as neither within or without. That's a direct quote from the book and from the film, and it kind of makes me think of that. Not to like, because Gatsby's there. You can't really compare The Great Gatsby with this album, but also at the same time, The Great Gatsby was famous for holding these big parties and being a super optimistic person. Maybe it's something to look into if you got some spare time.
Yeah, I read the book like so long ago, but I don't even remember it.
Yeah, it's watch the movies. The Baz Luhrmann did an adaptation, so that you get like a really cool score in it too. I'm gonna leave you on this. So, and because this is the most important thing to me, is and always. And I mean, you asked me a question, and it was directly related to mental health in my answer, and that's kind of what's always going on in my own mind, and it's consistently the most important thing to me. Doing anything that involves me speaking to people that are going to see anything I do, and we talked about that, how we both share like a past present of like anxiety and depression. You were in this really dark place. Did this album do anything for you as far as that dark place and maybe getting out of it?
I think the process of the album has just helped me to know myself more and understand my shadows and see like the superpowers hidden in my shadows. Because if there's something that we feel like is a deficiency or a negative thing, it's a pretty clear indicator that there is a superpower on the other side of it. So it's looking into what is my shadow. Oh, that means I'm really great at this. So then how do I balance this? Yeah, I mean, it's a daily, forever journey for everyone. And I think the purpose of being alive is to know ourselves.
I really adore that you encourage people to know themselves more and to look at themselves and access themselves. This album really does that. Next conversation, we should do it in person. I would really like that.
We should.
Stream 33, access yourself, and support this wonderful human being.
Once you get to us, you